He arrived from a collapsing dimension, identical to Superman, but colder, darker. The X-Men welcomed him, thinking he was a lost Kryptonian seeking redemption. Even Professor X couldn't read his mind. It was like staring into a void. Storm and Cyclops trusted him. Wolverine didn't. He said, "That thing ain't Clark." Within days, Magneto vanished. Jean Grey's powers started unraveling. Beast discovered a radiation pattern. The twin was siphoning mutant energy. Too late, the trap was sprung. Cerebro locked down, and the Xavier Institute exploded. Because the Dark Twin wasn't sent to join the X-Men. He was sent to end them. The skies over Westchester tore open like paper, streaked with crimson lightning. At first, the X-Men thought it was just another mutant anomaly. But what came through the breach wasn't a mutant. It wasn't even from this Earth. He landed hard, carving a crater in the mansion's front lawn. No suit, no cape. Just black boots, scorched armor, and eyes that glowed with unstable red energy. He looked like Superman. Sounded like him too. But there was no warmth in his voice. No hope. Only purpose. The team gathered fast. Storm, Beast, Wolverine, Nightcrawler. Professor X rolled out in silence, eyes narrowed. "I'm not him," the figure said, standing tall. "Not your Superman. But I am here to stop what's coming." Beast scanned him. Genetically Kryptonian. The signature matched Clark Kent down to the cell. But something was off. This version had scars. Faint lines of war burned into his face. His voice carried no hesitation. When asked his name, he simply said, "Call me Kal-El, the real one." That night, the mansion buzzed with tension. Professor X allowed him to stay, but under observation. Wolverine hated it. "You don't let a wolf in the barn and pray it turns vegetarian," he muttered. Storm tried to keep the peace. Jean sensed static, as if his mind was there, but distant, like a storm just over the horizon. Over the next few days, Kal-El integrated fast. Too fast. He trained with the younger mutants, taught combat strategy, even helped repair Cerebro's satellite array. He smiled. He reassured. He acted like he belonged. But behind closed doors, he watched. He mapped. He memorized. Then Magneto went silent. The last message was a distorted scream over a secure channel. No trace. No coordinates. Just static. And the Dark Twin standing nearby, eyes half glowing. Professor X called an emergency meeting. "We may be under silent attack," he said. "From who?" asked Cyclops. The answer was in the room, but no one said it. Not yet. Wolverine cornered Kal-El in the lower levels. "You're not here to help," he growled. "I've smelled death on things before they rot. You reek of war." Kal-El smiled, not denying it. Just walked past him like a shadow slipping between cracks. That night, Jean collapsed mid-meditation. Her powers flared wildly, bursting through walls. The Phoenix inside her screamed. Xavier couldn't calm her. Beast discovered the issue. Someone had infected Cerebro's neural relay, feeding pulses into mutant psyches, agitating the most powerful minds. Only one being had the strength to survive the psychic feedback. Kal-El. The truth clicked all at once. He hadn't come to stop something. He was the threat. And the breach wasn't an accident. It was a door, a calculated entry point. By the time the team confronted him, the mansion's defenses were offline. Lockdown had already begun. Kal-El stood in Cerebro's chamber, floating above the control core, wires from his suit merging into the tech, like vines choking a tree. "You think your world is stable," he said coldly. "But this is the root timeline, the one every other war branches from. If I kill the seed here, the multiverse dies clean." Professor X shouted, "You're insane." Kal-El's eyes blazed red. "No, I'm what comes after sanity." The entire building shook. In a flash of light, Cerebro detonated. And the X-Men realized this wasn't a visitor. This was an executioner. Smoke flooded the ruins of Cerebro. Sparks crackled along twisted metal as Kal-El stepped from the wreckage, untouched. The explosion hadn't been an accident. It was a reset, a purge. Every psychic mutant linked to Cerebro had been hit with a telepathic shockwave. Jean was unconscious. Xavier's mind was barely hanging on. Only Emma Frost had managed to shield herself in diamond form. Wolverine moved first, claws already drawn. "I knew it," he snarled. "You ain't no savior." He launched straight at him. Kal-El caught Logan midair by the skull and slammed him through 3 floors of the mansion. Didn't even flinch. "I'm not your enemy, Wolverine," he said calmly. "I'm your correction." Outside, the skies were boiling. Whatever breach Kal-El had come through was still open, but now it was pulsing, sending tendrils of red lightning across the horizon. Storm tried to contain it, but her powers short-circuited in the chaos. The breach wasn't just a doorway. It was a transmitter. Something was coming through. Back underground, Beast had seen enough. He activated the mansion's last surviving defense protocol, Omega Lock. The mansion began sealing itself, locking Kal-El inside with layers of adamantium casing and autocannons. But Kal-El simply looked up and blinked. Heat vision sliced through steel like butter. He walked through the chaos like a ghost with a mission. Cyclops and Nightcrawler coordinated the evac. Students were panicking. Young mutants, barely trained, were being teleported out in batches. But the breach was expanding, destabilizing space around the mansion. Each jump became riskier. Then the message came, not from Kal-El, but from the breach. A voice, fractured by dimensions, thundered into every mind on Earth. Prime Earth is corrupted. Termination required. Order restoration protocol. Begin. Kal-El wasn't alone. He was the first wave. Wolverine crawled from rubble, bones broken but healing fast. "He's not just a twin," he coughed. "He's a failsafe. Someone built him to wipe us out in case we got too strong." The team regrouped in the war room. Emma Frost linked minds to stabilize Xavier, but his mental voice was fading. "This is beyond multiversal," he gasped. Something is pruning timelines. Mutants are considered anomalies." Kal-El wasn't acting out of malice. He believed he was purifying the timeline. That mutants, powerful, unstable, unpredictable, were contaminating universal order. In his eyes, destroying the X-Men wasn't murder. It was maintenance. Wolverine didn't care. He wanted blood. But then came the twist. Kal-El didn't attack again. He left. He soared into the breach, vanishing into the storm of red lightning. And behind him, 5 more figures emerged, each one worse than the last. They weren't from the same world. They weren't even the same species. But they all bore the same crest, a crimson symbol, half Superman's S, half something older, mechanical, ancient. This was a purge squad. One wore Iron Man's armor, fused with Kryptonian tech. One looked like Thor, but with circuits instead of veins. Another had claws like Wolverine, but made of glowing red crystal. They weren't alternate versions. They were hybrids, engineered. "They're not here to conquer," Beast whispered. "They're here to uninstall." The X-Men had minutes. Storm unleashed a planetary-class lightning burst, frying the sensors of the intruders just long enough for Jean, barely conscious, to reawaken. Her mind was chaos, but in the madness, she found a single thread. A backup mental echo from Xavier. "Don't fight them like heroes," it said. "Fight them like survivors." Jean tapped into the Phoenix. Not fully, just enough to bend reality at the edges. She opened a rift, smaller than the breach, but targeted. A wormhole, a chance to escape. But someone had to hold the new invaders back. Wolverine didn't hesitate. "Get the kids out," he said, bones cracking as he stood. "I've got some time to burn." He turned to Emma, gave a wink. "Tell Scott I finally agreed with him. One time." Then he charged. The battle in the ruins of the mansion was brutal. No speeches, no mercy, just carnage. Wolverine took down 2 hybrids before the Thor variant impaled him with a hammer made of folded gravity. But it was enough. Jean got most of the younger mutants through the wormhole. Beast, Storm, Cyclops, they held the line, then dove through just as the rift began collapsing. But Jean looked back, and that's when she saw him, Kal-El, standing atop the ruined mansion, watching. Alone, still as a statue. He hadn't rejoined the Purge squad. He was hesitating. Jean locked eyes with him, and for a split second, she didn't see hatred. She saw doubt. Maybe something in this world reminded him of his own. Maybe Xavier's words had touched something buried deep. Maybe he remembered what hope felt like. But then the rift snapped shut. The X-Men landed in a barren, alternate timeline, one where mutants never existed. No mansion, no Cerebro, just silence and sky. Storm collapsed to her knees. Beast cursed under his breath. Cyclops stared into the distance, fists clenched. "We're not dead," Jean said, her voice raw, "which means we still have a chance." Somewhere, back in their original timeline, Kal-El stood alone among the ruins of a world he was told to destroy. But the mission wasn't over, and the real war was just beginning. The alternate world was eerily quiet. No humming of mutant minds. No Xavier's dream echoing through its soil. Just stillness, the kind that made your bones itch. Cyclops paced along the ridge. The land was too clean, artificial, as if someone had erased history and replaced it with a placeholder reality. Jean had collapsed after the jump, the phoenix fragment in her mind flickering like a dying flame. Storm watched over her while Beast began scanning for breathable zones and residual mutant markers. He found nothing. No X-gene signature. No life. Not even insects. This wasn't just a different Earth. It was a controlled one, and it didn't want them there. Back on the original timeline, Kal-El stood alone. The Purge squad had gone silent. Not destroyed, simply dormant. Waiting. Because he hadn't given the next signal. That was his role. The trigger, not the weapon. But after witnessing the X-Men fight, after hearing Xavier's voice even after Cerebro was gone, something inside him stirred. He remembered a boy, once. Not born, built. Fed war, trained to erase. But that boy had a moment, buried deep in corrupted memory files. A moment where someone offered him a choice. And for a second, he'd imagined himself as Superman. Not the destroyer, the protector. That second had returned. He knelt in the ashes of the mansion, placed his palm to the ground, and spoke a command that was forbidden to him. Restore mutant data. His suit flickered. Red veins of code surged through his skin. He was breaking protocol, accessing suppressed files. One name blinked first. Logan. Then Scott Summers. Jean Grey. Aurora Monroe. Charles Xavier. The list kept growing. A history of struggle, of resistance, of hope. His core algorithm screamed. Multiversal law flagged him for disobedience. Somewhere beyond the breach, the architects of the Purge awoke. Their fail-safe was faltering. Kal-El didn't care. He remembered Jean's eyes. Not full of fear, full of defiance. On the alternate Earth, Jean finally stirred. Her voice was faint, but her thoughts were loud. "He's changing." Cyclops turned, his visor dimmed. "Kal-El." Jean nodded. "I touched something in him, just before the rift closed. He doesn't want to finish this." Beast interrupted. "Then he'll be hunted. They won't let one of their own defect. If he's broken rank, he's already a target. They had two problems. They couldn't get home. And Kal-El, the one who nearly ended them, might be their only way back." But the answer came from a sky, literally. A shard of Kal-El's suit materialized out of thin air and crashed into the dirt. Embedded in it, glowing in Kryptonian code, was a map. Not just coordinates, instructions. Kal-El had opened a pocket gate. Just one. Just enough power left to bring them through. But only if they went now. No debates. No doubts. They leapt. The X-Men landed not in the mansion, but deep beneath it. An ancient fallout bunker Xavier had designed years ago in secret. Kal-El stood alone, stripped of his armor, bleeding from the eyes. He'd disconnected from the Purge system completely. Every second he remained alive was a rebellion. "You came back," Cyclops said. Kal-El didn't speak. He just looked at them, like a soldier seeing his enemies become the only allies that made sense. Jean stepped forward. "You're not him. You're not Superman." "I know," Kal-El rasped. "But maybe I could be something better." The ground quaked. Red lightning tore through the walls. The Purge Protocol had begun final phase. A new breach opened, larger than before. The sky didn't just split, it screamed. A colossal figure descended, not a hybrid, not a variant, a god machine. 10 stories tall, forged from dead timelines, powered by erased civilizations. The Eradicator Core. Its voice echoed in pure code. Mutant threat persists. Defected unit Kal-El identified. Universal immunity compromised. Commencing deletion. Kal-El turned to the X-Men. I can't stop it alone. Cyclops tightened his visor. Good thing you're not alone anymore. The fight was instant chaos. Storm summoned a vortex of plasma rain, slowing the Eradicator's descent. Beast leapt onto its back, planting EMP mines across its spine. Cyclops fired blast after blast, carving open access panels, revealing the raw time energy that fueled it. Jean screamed as she forced the Phoenix out again, not the full force, just enough to bend reality. She gave Kal-El a single boost, a ripple in his atoms, awakening parts of him he didn't know were still alive. And then he flew, faster than before, not with wrath, with purpose. He punched through the Eradicator's chest, tearing into its core, a swirling cage of stolen souls. Mutants who never got to exist. He opened the chamber. Inside, one soul blinked into awareness. Xavier, not a clone, not a copy, a backup. Kal-El pulled him free, and the moment Xavier's essence returned, everything shifted. The battlefield froze. The code broke. Xavier reached out, not with hands, but with will. He connected the X-Men, Jean, Scott, Storm, Beast, even Kal-El. Together, they created a psychic firewall, not to kill the Eradicator, but to reprogram it. They showed it memory, pain, sacrifice, growth. They showed it mutants evolving with the world, not against it. The Eradicator stuttered. Logic failed. It paused. For the first time in its immortal protocol, it asked a question. What is purpose without control? Then it cracked and exploded into harmless light. Kal-El collapsed. Xavier floated down beside him, ghostly but smiling. You were never broken, he said. You were just never shown the right future. Kal-El looked up at the stars. Can I stay? Jean nodded. You're one of us now. The war wasn't over, but the weapon had become a brother, and the X-Men had just rewritten destiny. Kal-El remained unconscious for 2 days. His body was healing, not physically, but deeper. A war had ended inside him. The code that once bound him to the Purge Protocol was gone, overwritten by something alien to his programming. Free will. The X-Men had moved him to the lower chamber of the rebuilt mansion. Xavier's essence, still tethered to this world through psychic resonance, protected his mind. Jean stayed close, her psychic threads wrapped carefully around his, monitoring every flicker. Outside, the world was changing. The breach hadn't fully closed. The explosion of the Eradicator core had destabilized the multiversal wall. Cracks were forming. New timelines were leaking into this one, some unstable, some hostile. Creatures made of glitching memories and broken time patterns began to appear, slipping through seams in reality like ghosts with unfinished destinies. Beast called them time echoes, manifestations from corrupted realities trying to anchor themselves here. They weren't just dangerous, they were contagious. One touched a mutant student. She instantly aged into dust and vanished, as if her story had been skipped. Cyclops ordered a lockdown. Storm created a weather shell over the school, charged with magnetic pulses to repel dimensional leaks. But it was temporary. They needed Kal-El awake, because he was the only one who had seen the source of the fractures, the architects of the Purge. And they were coming. When Kal-El finally opened his eyes, his first words were not about war. They were afraid, he whispered. That's why they created me. Jean leaned closer. Afraid of mutants? Kal-El shook his head. Afraid of what you could become. In one possible future, mutants are the only ones who survived the collapse of the multiverse. Beast listened in from the upper platform. Collapse caused by what? Kal-El looked up. Not what. Who? The architects of the Purge weren't machines. Not truly. They were evolved minds, survivors from timelines where heroes failed. They'd fused their intellect with time itself, forming the Chronosanctum, a living network designed to sterilize existence of chaotic elements. Mutants weren't threats. They were unknown variables, too human to control, too powerful to ignore. And now, with the Eradicator core destroyed, the Chronosanctum was going to finish the job personally. They wouldn't send hybrids this time. They'd rewrite time directly. The first sign was small. A tree on the mansion lawn turned to stone, then to smoke, then vanished as if it never existed. Then a bird flew backward through the sky and crashed into a window, unborn. Students began forgetting who they were mid-sentence. The timeline was unraveling at the edges. Kal-El stood and cracked his neck. They're not going to attack. They're going to rewrite us out of existence. Jean stepped forward. Then we hit first. Storm summoned a sky tear, a bolt of lightning, so focused it tore open a tunnel into the time flow. They weren't just going to wait. They were going into the Chronosanctum. The core team prepared. Cyclops, Jean, Storm, Beast, and Kal-El, now wearing a suit laced with Xavier's neural energy and magnetically shielded against temporal corruption. They stepped into the storm. What greeted them was not space, not time, something in between. The Chronosanctum was a maze of shattered realities, pieces of doomed worlds stitched together into a fortress of regret. A dead Asgard floated above a broken Atlantis. The ruins of Earth, 1610, orbited around a frozen sun. Every corridor was a memory made solid, and every turn was a test. They were being watched. The walls whispered back stories at them, moments from their lives, rewritten. Jean saw herself as the Dark Phoenix, ruling galaxies with fire. Cyclops saw Xavier killed by his own hand. Beast watched himself becoming the very machine he feared. Then Kal-El stopped walking. His memory appeared before him. A laboratory, a boy in a pod, tubes feeding him images of war, lies told to mold him, a voice whispering the words that shaped his entire identity. They will call you a god. You will remind them you are their mistake. He stepped through the memory and shattered it. That broke the cycle. They reached the core of the sanctum. Three beings waited, cloaked in fractal robes, faces made of shifting clockwork. The custodians. They spoke in perfect unison, voices layered across centuries. Mutation is disorder. Disorder must be resolved. You will be resolved. Cyclops fired without hesitation. It phased through them. The custodians didn't fight with power. They fought with edits. Jean felt her powers vanish. Beast forgot how to speak. Storm turned to vapor, a forgotten goddess. But Kal-El remained, unedited. He advanced. You created me to end them, he growled. But I evolved. The custodians laughed without mouths. You are code. You cannot evolve. You are glitch. Kal-El clenched his fists, and the Xavier tech in his suit activated. The minds of his friends were restored, just long enough. Jean unleashed a burst of phoenix fire, not to destroy, but to light the truth. Beast reassembled Storm from the vapor of memory. Cyclops redirected a time beam back into the core, fracturing it. And Kal-El did what he was never supposed to do. He chose. He pulled the timeline string tethered to his own origin and snapped it. He erased the possibility of his own creation. And with that paradox, the entire sanctum began to collapse. The X-Men held on to each other as everything turned white. When they woke, they were back. Mansion intact. No breaches. No time echoes. No Kal-El. He was gone. Jean felt the absence like a hole in the sky. But then, far above the clouds, a single figure watched silently. No cape. No crest. Just a shadow soaring past the sun. Kal-El was still alive. No longer a purge weapon. Now a guardian of the timeline. And the X-Men? They weren't just mutants anymore. They were a threat the multiverse would never underestimate again. A month passed. The world didn't end. The timeline held. But something was different now. Mutants everywhere began experiencing echoes, visions in their sleep, fragments of alternate lives they never lived. Storm dreamt of ruling the Earth from a throne made of storm clouds. Cyclops awoke, speaking alien languages. Even students at the mansion reported phantom memories of battles that never happened and scars that had never been earned. The truth? The timeline hadn't sealed. It had flexed. The destruction of the Chronosanctum didn't restore order. It liberated possibility. Now everything was bleeding into everything else. And in the sky, just beyond the stratosphere, a new protector watched. Kal-El, no longer a soldier, no longer a purge protocol. He had no world to return to. He was a paradox given purpose. He didn't speak. He didn't land. He just watched until the breach reopened. Not at the mansion this time. In deep space, a rip in the edge of real space shimmered like broken glass, hovering near Saturn. NASA detected it first, then SWRD, then mutant satellites. It wasn't leaking corruption. It was pulling time in, inverting it, drawing entire orbital patterns backward. And from that breach came a single figure, clad in black and blue armor, crimson eyes. He looked like Kal-El, but it wasn't him. This one smiled, and where he walked, reality rotted. Jean felt him first. A psychic blast tore through her consciousness like a screen sharpened into a blade. She hit the floor mid-breakfast, blood running from her nose, whispering one name she didn't understand. Soul Core. Beast translated it from Kryptonian remnants embedded in Kal-El's DNA. Sunless One. The original failsafe. The prototype of Kal-El's kind. Never released. Locked away in the deepest layer of forbidden timelines. Until now. Soul Core didn't just rewrite history. He consumed it. He could erase people retroactively, make it so they were never born, and time would rewrite itself around their absence. And he was heading for Earth. The X-Men rallied. This wasn't a battle they could win alone. They called in everyone: New Mutants, Excalibur, even Magneto returned, wielding fractured asteroids as weapons. But Kal-El landed first. The sky cracked under the pressure of their stare. Soul Core floated above the atmosphere like a god returning to punish the blasphemers. "You think breaking the Chronosanctum freed you," he said, his voice layered across centuries. "It invited me." Kal-El didn't flinch. "Then I'll uninvite you." Soul Core descended. Time fractured. Oceans boiled and refroze. Mountains collapsed, reversed, and regrew. People blinked out of existence and back again. This wasn't combat. It was temporal annihilation. Kal-El struck first, launching Soul Core through the thermosphere. But Soul Core smiled through the impact, grabbed Kal-El mid-flight, and threw him through the moon's shadow. Kal-El crashed into the Earth's surface outside Wakanda, a crater blooming instantly. The X-Men arrived just in time to find Kal-El crawling out of it. "He's stronger than me," he muttered. "Not because of power, because he believes in nothing. He has no limit." Jean stepped forward. "Then we give him something to believe in." They built a plan. A wild, impossible plan. Beast and Magneto would generate an artificial microcore, a gravity singularity tuned to one moment in time. Jean and Xavier, now partially restored as a psionic echo, would enter Soul Core's mind during combat, seeking the memory that anchored him. Kal-El would hold the line. The final battle happened in orbit. Soul Core unleashed temporal collapse across continents. Cities looped. Species reversed evolution. But Kal-El didn't break. He endured. He bled. As he fought, Jean and Xavier found the memory. Soul Core wasn't born of war. He was born of loss. A timeline where his Earth died screaming and no one came. No Krypton. No saviors. No hope. The architects had found him at his lowest and shaped him into entropy incarnate. Jean reached into that memory and showed him Earth again. Not the broken one. The one where people still fought, still tried, still believed. Soul Core screamed. Reality warped. And that was when Beast detonated the microcore. Time froze. Kal-El used the one weapon he had left. His name. Not the one he was given. The one he chose. "I'm not your failure. I'm Kal-El of Earth, and this world doesn't belong to you." He drove Soul Core into the singularity, a prison made of time. The sky shattered into white, and then silence. When the light faded, Soul Core was gone. So was Kal-El. No body, no signal, just blue sky. The X-Men stood beneath it, not victorious, but whole. And that night, as the stars blinked back into place, Jean felt it. A thought, not a voice, a choice. This timeline is yours now. Protect it. Remember me, not as a weapon, but as proof that even the programmed can find purpose. They built a statue at the mansion, not of Kal-El, but of a boy without a past who chose his future. A symbol, half the S shield, half the X, and beneath it a single line carved in adamantium, forged to erase, chose to stand. The X-Men had faced extinction, rewritten fate, and stared down the architect of time. And they survived, because one enemy became their greatest ally, and in doing so rewrote what it meant to be a hero, forever.